Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. Monthly Report. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
We want to welcome you to the National Federation of the Blind Indiana Newsline Report. Today we have some very special guests with a major organization here in the state of Indiana, and it's Indiana ASPE. We have the president today, Brian Gilbert, and also the board member and outgoing president, Ms. Tina Skill. So we have a lot to share, and we're going to get going here shortly. But for those of you that are familiar with our show, we are with the National Federation of the Blind, and we have a service that's geared to individuals that are blind, visually impaired, those that are coping with dyslexia, and even the deaf-blind now have free access to reading newspapers, magazines, TV guide listings, job listings, things that are frivolous to a lot of individuals when we have sight. It's very important to people that can't distinguish the print. This service, once again, is a free service. Our sponsor, state sponsor, is the State Library, Talking Book and Braille Library Services. Now, people will say, how do you access this service? Well, how you access it is by using your landline phone. You can use your smartphones. You can use all your Apple devices. You can also use your computer. In the blind community, we have a device that's called from Humanware Services, it's called the Victor Stream Reader. And also from the Talking Book and Braille Library through this Library of Congress, you have access to a tool that's called the Digital Talking Player. A lot of people use that digital talking player. So we want you to stay tuned with us and our guests and our co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine, as we learn more about the initiatives and the organization, Indiana ASPE. So join us here, and we'll be right back in a few minutes after our commercials. Thank you very much.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read your Lucille Post too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free. Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline. We want to welcome you back, and as we stated, we have some special guests with a special organization, Indiana ASPE. That's Indiana organization with the, let's see, the acronym. Everybody wants to know what the acronym is, but it's the authorization, right?
The Association of People Supporting Employment First.
Yeah, supporting employment first. Association of People Supporting Employment First. So we want to thank you for coming on to the show, Mr. Chapter President, Mr. Gilbert, and also Ms. Gill. Thank you very much for coming on to our show.
Thank you for having us.
And I know we have a lot to share with our audience. But first of all, we would like to know a little bit about you guys. We know that about your positions. We know a little bit about the organization, and we want to educate our public. But we'll start with the lady first, Tina. Tina, how did you get involved, with ASPE?
Well, about 30 years ago, I was at Ball State and worked on a grant through the National Science Foundation that was utilizing screen readers and voice recognition systems. And so I got really interested in a career pursuing adaptive equipment and came across an organization, a very fledgling organization. Learned a little bit about it, and then actually got myself into the field. Started out as an employment specialist or job coach with the Community Mental Health Center in Anderson, and really got involved through that organization and got involved in NFBN. Started out just as a board member, and then went on to hold different positions throughout the organization. So have done everything from conference chair to previous president, as you mentioned. So, but they don't let me near the money. never the treasurer.
Well, I tell you what, that is a very interesting start. Now, you graduated from what high school?
I graduated from Highland High School.
Okay, Highland in Anderson?
In Anderson.
Oh, okay. So, so you went to Ball State.
I did.
Okay, and as we know in Laura High School, one of your competitors was up the road with Muncie.
Oh, yes.
Muncie Central Bearcats.
Oh, yes, the Bearcats.
Yeah, that's where I graduated from.
Okay.
And you attended Ball State University.
Sure did.
Okay, now our show based on surrounding blindness. I know our audience would want to know, are you coping with any sight loss or anything of that nature?
For me personally, I actually use a screen reader, but I use it due to a learning disability. Okay. So I'm quite adept to different technologies out there, and it really has been a game changer as somebody with learning disability. I don't think oftentimes people recognize how much that can help as far as reading.
Yeah, because I know there's someone in our listening audience maybe coping with the same scenario, and to hear them hear you speak of your challenge and how you have overcome your challenge. Now, when did you start noticing that you had this particular challenge?
Really early on. I saw it in elementary school. It seemed like I was just a slow reader, but I actually was at Ball State when the first diagnosis actually occurred. I was learning to be an elementary school teacher and was having problems with some math issues, and they did testing, and it was finally recognized. But it wasn't until I got involved with the program that I mentioned earlier with utilizing screen readers that I actually realized, man, I can use this to help with what I'm dealing with.
And you said, now the screen readers, you use basically because of the audio.
Yes, that's correct. So it reads back the text that is on the screen. products like Apple now have it already built in, and you can just use the voiceover.
Yes.
Super simple. But 25 years ago, that technology did not exist. So it really has been a game changer in being able to actually finish my master's. So that was a really neat opportunity to be able to get books on audio.
Well, I think that's great information to share. So your recommendation to a person that's coping with the same problem, or a parent that may have a child that may be coping with the same challenges, what would your recommendations be to that parent or child?
I think the biggest thing is identifying the specific issue. Is there's different types of dyslexia. So everybody's, the way individuals interpret information is different for every person. So knowing what the actual disability is and how it impairs the individual's ability to read is huge. Being able to access different products as well. So there are products that do really well that have an actual study tool. So the product that I use personally has not only the voiceover, but it actually has a place where you can do study notes. It has a place that will create vocabulary with visual pictures. There's all kind of different options. So it's not just a screen reading tool, it's also a study tool. So especially for students that may be struggling, this is a huge benefit.
Well, I'm glad that you are here to share that information, because it's all about knowledge and awareness. And thanks for sharing that information. And we'll be right back talking with you. But I want to talk to Mr. Gilbert. That's, I guess he's kind of taking your place, huh?
No one can take Tina's place, but
Hey, they're little small shoes, it's fine. He's doing great.
Well, tell us, Mr. Gilbert, the same question to you. Just where did you go to school at? Where did you graduate from high school?
I went to high school. I grew up in New York City, actually. I went to Stuyvesant High School in Manhattan.
So you're not a Hoosier?
I am not, no. I've been here since 2010.
Well, you still got a ways to go before we're going to claim you as a Hoosier.
Baby steps, yep.
But, you know, so you graduated from high school in New York, and, you know, where did you get your formal education from?
I did a bachelor's degree in Buffalo, New York, and then I did actually go to Purdue University, my first experience living in Indiana, a couple of years while I'm getting my master's at Purdue.
Okay, Buffalo, New York. We just came from Buffalo, New York, and on a tour that we went, and when seeing the Niagara Falls, that was fantastic.
It's beautiful. In the summer, it's not too bad. In the winter, you need a jacket.
Who wants to be out there?
Yeah.
I think it was, say, 93 inches of snow that you average.
That sounds about right, yeah.
You know, and the U.S. side of the, for those that are interested, the U.S. side of the falls is not as great as it is on the Canadian side. I enjoyed the Canadian side a lot better than the U.S. side. So you're in Indiana, and so what led you to Indiana ASPE, or working with the ASPE?
It was pretty much Tina and a couple of other colleagues and current board members. I was working at Midtown Community Health in the supported employment field, and my boss at the time connected me with Tina and a couple of other individuals who basically told me I was going to be a member and I was going to join the board of Indiana ASPE, and I did, and I'm definitely glad I did. It's been about 7 years now that I've been on the board. It's been a great experience working with a lot of great people who really believe in our mission and the work that we're doing.
Okay.
So thank you.
Right. Now, ASPE, for those who are not familiar with ASPE, who is ASPE? What is ASPE?
Sure. ASPE is the national membership organization, the Association of People Supporting Employment First. And the organization is really about the mission of promoting quality employment outcomes of choice for people with all disabilities. And it's actually the only organization whose sole focus is on employment for individuals with a disability. So it's really about giving people the information of the resources that are out there, giving them the power to be advocates, and the support where we are also advocates for being able to work in the community alongside people both with and without disabilities, and being able to earn a fair wage that anybody else would be earning for doing that same job.
Okay, and you mentioned that someone said that you're going to be a member. Now, what actually attracted you to ASPE?
ASPE was, again, the mission was in line with the work I was doing. I knew some of the people who were already on the board, and I knew that they were really passionate about what they were doing. And I just wanted to be able to get together with a group of people who shared the same values that I did. And it's been a great learning experience. I've been able to learn a lot about the field and a lot about different areas of disability and different areas of whether it be public policy or transition from school to work. To be able to be around a group of people who share those same values is just really empowering, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, we know that working together works, and when we come back from our break, we're going to talk a little bit more about employment for people with disabilities and some of the legislation and some of the exciting things that are going on and some of the challenges that we face. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with Indiana ASPE. You gonna count me down?
We have disabilities.
And we make you uncomfortable.
It's why you love to vote as prom king.
But do you remember us on Monday?
You are afraid to see us fail.
It's why you place us in jobs
With few challenges.
We make you nervous.
So you do really silly things.
like talking louder.
To someone who's blind.
Now, think about that.
And then take a deep breath.
Relax.
Relax. Just be yourself.
Be you.
Just be cool.
Because most certainly,
I am.
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 This guy is.
We are.
Help us celebrate Indiana Disability Awareness Month just by being you.
Please show your support by sharing this video.
We want to welcome you back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana Monthly Report. And today we do have the Indiana ASPE, which is an organization here in Indiana. It's an association of people supporting employment first. And we have our guest here, and we're talking with the president prior to going to break, Mr. Brian Gilbert. Brian, you want to continue to share with us a little bit more about the mission of ASPE, the membership organization, you know?
Sure, we talked about, you mentioned employment first, and really the employment first is the idea that quality community employment should be the first and preferred option for all people with disabilities, that everyone with a disability has the ability to work, people want to work, and that we should be able to provide the resources and the supports so that people know what opportunities and options are out there for them. And that's the big part of what our organization does, is help link people from to that information. We get input from people as far as, you know, what are the barriers, what are the things that they're running into that make employment more difficult, and then we try to disseminate all that information so that we can be working together towards those same goals.
Okay, now, this organization, ASPE, when did it actually start? Was it in 1991? Or when did your
That's
organization
correct.
begin
In
here in Indiana?
1991. So actually, we're part of a larger organization, National ASPE, that is international. So it's not just the United States. We have chapters in Australia, Japan. I'm trying to think of all the other places, but several different locations throughout the world. And then our state chapter started about the same time as the national group. In the early 90s, 1991 was when our chapter really was being developed, and many of those founding members were actually part of a national partners who created the national organization itself. So many of those folks were not only creating the Indiana chapter, but also the national chapter as well.
So would it be fair to say then that as this organization connects people to people and agencies to agencies, or is it more of a advocacy organization looking out for the rights of people who are disabled and seeking employment?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, and I think we do have, as Brian mentioned, a large portion of what we do is specific around advocating and helping formulate legislation. But the other piece is connecting individuals to resources, sharing information. We have a website, we have videos, we have several different things. We even have helped individuals that were moving to other states get jobs because of our connections through ASPE, just making a phone call to help those families get connected with resources across the United States.
Now, there are so many people that are seeking employment who are disabled.
Absolutely.
And so what or who would a person contact if they were interested in ASPE?
If they were interested in ASPE, we do have the website, and there's contact information there on the website, and we also have the email address where they can reach out, and whatever questions they might have, they could ask those questions, and then we could get them connected to the right resources or information about membership if that's something they were interested in.
And we'll be running that across the, scrolling it across the screen, as well as narrating it, that information, so people that want to get in touch with the ASPE, Indiana ASPE. Now, I know that we talk about the network of on employment, employment first and employment now. Let's talk about the network a little bit more. What other organizations do you work with, or have you worked with throughout the years? Because you say 1991, that rings a bell with the inception of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about the networking that you guys do a little bit more, so people can see just how you function when you say all disabilities. This seems to be all inclusive. We have disabilities of multiple disabilities throughout the country, and how does that? How do you guys network with that?
A lot of it starts with our membership, and Indiana has pretty consistently been the first or the second in terms of the number of members across the country. So you've had usually somewhere around 200, 210 members in Indiana, and it's really made up of people from a wide variety of agencies. So we have a lot of service providers who provide services for people with varying disabilities. So whether it be visual impairment, hearing impairment, mental health, developmental disabilities, addictions disabilities, our membership When you look at everybody we encompass, they service pretty much everybody across the spectrum. And then we also have a lot of individuals with a disability who are members, who they not only advocate, but they help give us information about what is their personal experience. Because a lot of us, like you asked me if, I don't have a disability, so it's helpful for me to get that information from someone who is experiencing it. We have a lot of family members of someone with a disability who are members, and then we work with a lot of the state agencies, so vocational rehabilitation, workforce development, Department of Education, they're partners with us, so we have access to a lot of that information and a lot of those contacts that we share between members, and then when people are reaching out looking for information, we have that available to share with them as well.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more in our next segment regarding which groups are the most difficult to place. Oftentimes we talk about education. You have to have a formal education to really be competitive in the market. So we're going to take a short pause, and we'll be right back here on the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana Monthly Report. Stay tuned.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
As I travel the nation, I read NFB Newsline.
I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I listen to my local news on NFB Newsline.
As a student, I enjoy reading current events on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today. We are enjoying our conversation with the Indiana ASPE, and we will be continuing this next week as we learn more about ASPE, the great job that they're doing here in Indiana and around the country. We know that employment with people with disabilities is very important, and we know that the current administration in Washington is not really good advocates of people with disabilities at this point in time. So we want to discuss more of that, and we'll discuss that when we come back next week. So enjoy our show, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
The National Federation of the Blind Indiana Monthly Report. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.